Hey guys, welcome to the Ben Zone. On today's video, we're going to talk about the movie John Henry, and there's a lot to get through with this movie. But before we begin, guys, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. If you like movie reviews, movie breakdowns, ending explains, we do all that on this channel, so consider subscribing. But without further ado, let's talk about the train wreck that is John Henry, no pun intended. Because when I first saw this trailer, I was intrigued. You have Ludacris, decent actor, Terry Crews, I guess an okay actor, right? Pretty funny. So I'm low-key excited because if you guys know anything about the legend of John Henry, and for those of you who don't know, let me give you a brief breakdown on the legend of John Henry. So John Henry is an African-American folklore hero. He's a man big as an ox, strong with a big hammer like Terry Crews is on the poster. But here's the thing that makes John Henry such a badass. And back in the day, they used to actually manually put the railroad tracks in order with a hammer, just boom, boom, boom. And you know, blue collar work, honest work, strong work, laborers work. So John Henry was big, strong, so that was his thing until they created a machine that did the same job but a lot faster, a steam engine machine, and that was threatening to put all the people out of work. And John Henry had a competition. If he could beat the steam engine, then they phase it out and we keep human labor. So John Henry, man versus machine, big ox hammer pounding away. John Henry wins. Badass story, right? Shit, let's take another John Henry. John Henry Irons, aka Steel, the guy who created this costume to replace Superman when Superman died in the comic books. Not to be confused with the bad Steel movie that starred Shaq, because we don't talk about that. Another badass creates a suit with a hammer on par with Superman, and he created that suit to become a beacon of hope for the world in the case of Superman was no longer there. And badass, inspired by the African American folklore. And then we have this John Henry movie. Why do we have this movie? So let's start off with the movie. This movie is terrible, trash, garbage. There's nothing else to say about it. The movie took a modern approach to the John Henry mythos by simply giving us a big black dude with a hammer and throw away everything that made him cool. We have Terry Crews. Again, he can act. And then you have Ludacris. Again, he can act. And then you have a stupid story that goes nowhere. Look at this scene. Just look at it.
Standard.
Adrenaline's a hell of a drug, son. Now, don't worry about my legs. Worry about how we get the fuck out of here. They got shooters at both doors.
The AC.
What? So context, he's paraplegic. He gets up and walks around because of adrenaline. But I will say though, the father, John Henry's dad, was the best part of the movie. BJ Henry, best part of the movie, hilarious. But the overall story of the movie really didn't do much. We have the story of immigrants who came through from Honduras, traveled through Mexico just to get to their brother. Then one of them gets kidnapped and sold into sex slavery, which is then rescued, and she runs away, stumbles into John Henry's house. John Henry takes her in, even though she doesn't speak English. Look, she doesn't speak English. And as you guys can tell from my accent, I speak more than one language. So I understand certain things. So I'm all for multicultural diversity in movies and different languages if you give me the fucking subtitles. But in the movie John Henry, they're speaking full-blown Spanish with no English subtitles. So we're left sitting here like, huh? What? ¿Qué? Like, I don't understand. Like, that's the extent of my Spanish. ¿Qué? But regardless, as I'm watching this, I'm sitting here like, yo, what are they saying? When the father isn't there to translate, we have no idea what the Spanish speakers are saying. Again, great for Spanish diversity and all that. I'm all for it as long as I have subtitles to follow along, because this is a movie. But then as the movie progresses, we get bits and pieces of flashbacks of why John Henry became such a recluse. He was a thug, gangster, worked with his cousin Hell, and then he accidentally shot his cousin in the face. And his cousin is Ludacris with that big fucking mouthpiece thing here, right? Because he got shot by John Henry. And he held a grudge against John. But however long he held this grudge, he never took it on John until John went to him for help to get these people out of there. He gives John $50,000 to get his sex slave out of there. And then he shows up, gunfight happens, John Henry gets lit up with bullets, gets up, goes to fight Hell, gets lit up with bullets, and then at the end, he doesn't die. Now I get this is following the folklore, John Henry, man versus machine, gun versus hammer. but he's human. Unless I'm mistaken, he has superpowers, which he might have because they lit his ass up with bullets. But he survives, trucked through. Ludacris loses, he dies, and then the moral of the story is John Henry Strong, silent, and does the right thing. They introduced different plot lines like his love interest, nothing to do with the overall plot. We're introduced to a bunch of side characters who say cringy as shit lines, again, nothing to do with the plot. And overall, John Henry it's a letdown to the mythology of John Henry. That's all it is. Terry Crews, Ludacris, overall story, is it worth watching? No, not at all. But guys, that's my breakdown and my take of John Henry. I'd love to hear your feedback about John Henry in the comment section below. And if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you guys have not already. And until next time, been John.